You are both the observer and the observed. Don't miss this. Wake up to what you are. You've been told there's a self inside you, fixed, stable, in control. But what if that self was never real? What if everything you've identified with, your thoughts, emotions, and even your name, was only a story your mind told itself? In this video, we explore the mind-bending idea that the self cannot be found. Through neuroscience, introspection, and deep inner observation, you'll be invited to question everything you thought you knew about identity. This isn't about philosophy for philosophy's sake. It's about waking up to something deeper, something freer. Stay until the end. You might just meet the version of you that's been silently watching all along. When the self cannot be found in the mind. A scientist once set out to find the self inside the human brain. With advanced tools and careful study, they examined neural circuits, tracked electric signals, and mapped the brain's activity in great detail. They believed that somewhere inside, there must be a center where the real you lives. A place where decisions are made. Where identity takes root. But after all the data and mapping, they found nothing. No control room. No final switchboard. No single point that could be called the true self. This discovery raised a question that many avoid. If the self cannot be found, then who is it that is thinking, feeling, and choosing? Most people move through life assuming that there is a fixed identity behind their eyes. Someone stable and unchanging. But if science cannot locate this self, is it possible that our idea of it has always been an illusion? This challenges not only the nature of consciousness but the way we live. What if what we call I is not a solid entity, but just a stream of processes? A narrative the brain tells itself. What if the person we think we are has never truly existed as we imagined? Facing this truth is not a loss. It is a doorway. One that leads beyond the limits of ego. Toward something quieter, more spacious, more alive. When thoughts and emotions keep changing, then what is your true essence? Most people believe they are one consistent person. A single self with a steady personality, stable preferences, and clear beliefs. But if you start watching your own mind, something strange appears. One day you feel powerful and sure of yourself. The next, insecure and lost. Some mornings you wake up full of purpose. Other times, you want to disappear. You may love someone deeply today, and feel distant tomorrow. If you were truly one fixed self, would all these changes make sense? Probably not. What this reveals is something important. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. These things pass through you. They rise and fall like waves. They contradict, shift, transform. Yet throughout it all, there is something that remains. Something that notices. Something that sees the changing storm but is never touched by it. What is that silent presence inside you? If everything changes but one thing remains aware, could that be the real you? The mind wants to name and control, but awareness cannot be named. It simply is. And in that space of watching without judgment, you begin to realize something profound. You have never been your emotions. You have always been the space they pass through. That space is calm. That space is wide. That space is free. Try sitting still and wait for a thought to appear, and you will see something surprising. Close your eyes. Sit quietly. Do nothing. Just wait and observe. At some point, a thought will rise. Maybe it is a memory, a worry, or a simple idea. Watch it come. Then let it go. Stay in this space of stillness. Soon, another thought will show up. Again, watch. Again. Release. If you continue this for long enough, You will notice something unusual. Thoughts appear on their own. You are not calling them. You are not choosing them. They just come. They stay briefly. Then they leave. This simple practice reveals Omething powerful. You are not the creator of your thoughts. You are the witness. The mind is like a stream. You do not control the water. You only see it flow. And in this realization lies deep peace. The pressure to fix, to change, to force your mind disappears. You are not your thoughts. You are the space that holds them. This space is not tense. It does not fight. It simply notices. Over time, this observing presence becomes clearer. You begin to trust it. It is calm. It is steady. And it has always been there, beneath the noise. Once you see this for yourself, the way you relate to your own mind begins to change. You stop trying to control everything. You start to watch. And from that place, healing begins. Your brain decided before you even knew, so who is in control? In the early 1980s, scientist Benjamin Libet conducted a groundbreaking experiment. He asked participants to move their hand whenever they felt the urge. While doing this, their brain activity was measured. What he found was shocking. The brain showed signs of preparing to move the hand before the participants were even aware of making a choice. The decision was made for they thought they had made it. This discovery shook the foundations of what we call free will. If the brain acts before we are conscious of it, then who is truly making decisions? It appears that thoughts and impulses rise without our control, and the conscious mind only becomes aware after the fact. For many, this feels disturbing. We like to believe we are in charge. But maybe control is not what we thought it was. Maybe awareness is the real key. Because when you observe a thought as it arises, you can choose not to follow it. You may not control the first impulse, but you can decide how to respond. This is not weakness. It is power. Power through presence. Instead of reacting blindly, you begin to respond consciously. The more you watch, the more choice becomes possible. Not because you created the thought, but because you are no longer its servant. You become the space where choice appears, not the puppet pulled by invisible strings. When you observe something, you are changing it. In the world of physics, there is a mysterious experiment called the double-slit experiment. Tiny particles are fired through two slits. When no one observes them, the particles behave like waves, moving in all directions. But the moment they are observed, they behave like solid objects, changing their path. Observation alters the outcome. Reality itself seems to respond to being watched. This strange truth has deep implications. If mere observation can shift how matter behaves, what happens when you observe your own mind? Think of the last time you were overwhelmed by emotion. Maybe anger, fear, or sadness took over. In those moments, it felt like you had no control. But something changes the instant you pause and watch what is happening inside you. The emotion loosens. A small space opens. That space is everything. It is the gap between reaction and awareness. Most people live caught in automatic responses. They think I am angry. But what if you could say I am noticing anger? That simple shift rewrites the story. It gives you perspective. It offers choice. Just like in physics. Your inner reality transforms when you observe it clearly. You begin to understand that you are not your reactions. You are the one who sees. And the act of seeing, of truly witnessing, is already a form of healing. You hear the voice in your head. Then you are not it. Sit in silence for a moment. Listen closely. You will hear a voice inside your mind. It speaks constantly. It reminds you of what you should do. It replays conversations. It judges others. It worries about the future and clings to the past. Most people assume this voice is who they are. But here is something to consider. If you can hear the voice, then there must be something else that is listening. Something deeper. Imagine sitting in a room with someone who never stops talking. That is your mind. A non-stop monologue. Jumping from topic to topic. But if you can step back and listen, who is the one hearing it? This is where awareness begins. The mind is like a storyteller. It creates meaning. Tries to explain everything, even when it does not understand. It will tell you that you are your pain, your failures, your achievements. But those are just stories. And the voice telling them is not you. You are the one who hears. Once you see this, a shift begins. You no longer take every thought so seriously. You begin to create space. Space to observe without reacting. To hear the mind without being controlled by it. The voice may never stop. But your relationship with it can change. And in that shift, freedom begins to grow. The ego is just a story, not your true self. The ego is built from memories, experiences, and beliefs. It tells you who you are. It says you are your name, your role, your reputation, your successes, and your failures. But imagine for a moment that you lost all memory. If you could not recall your past, who would you be? Would you still be the same person? The ego is a mental construct. A story the mind tells to make sense of the world. It constantly asks questions like, how do others see me? Am I doing well enough? What happens if I fail? These thoughts create pressure, fear, and attachment. But they are not the truth. They are habits of the thinking mind. The ego wants validation. It feeds on praise and suffers under criticism. But when you observe these patterns, you begin to see that they are just thoughts. They do not define you. Try this. The next time you feel hurt, ask yourself who is feeling hurt. The moment you ask that question, distance is created. You are no longer trapped inside the emotion. You are watching it. And the watcher is free. Over time, you start to see the ego for what it is. Just another voice. Just another mask. Not the real you. And when that happens, the need to prove yourself fades. You become more honest, more open, and more at peace. You return to what is real. Your brain constantly reinforces what you believe is true, even if it causes you pain. Your brain is not a neutral machine. It filters the world based on what you focus on. This system, called the reticular activating system, decides what to notice and what to ignore. If you believe you are not good enough, your brain will highlight every failure, every rejection, and every flaw to confirm that belief. If you think people do not respect you, you will notice every moment that seems to prove it. Your brain is not doing this to hurt you. It is trying to protect you by making the world feel predictable. But when your beliefs are rooted in pain, fear, or self-doubt, the brain becomes a prison guard rather than a guide. This is why awareness matters. When you become conscious of your thoughts, you can begin to shift them. You can challenge the beliefs that no longer serve you. You can say, this thought is not truth. This feeling is not fact. And slowly, the brain begins to adjust. It starts noticing hope instead of only fear. It begins to register your strength instead of just your weakness. The more you focus on what empowers you, the more your brain aligns with that reality. You are not doomed to relive your past. You are capable of creating a new lens. And with it, a new life. The observer and the observed are never truly separate. We often think of ourselves as separate from the world. There is me. And there is everything else. I observe. The world moves. But what if this separation is only an illusion? Imagine a mirror. The reflection inside the mirror does not exist without the person looking into it. The image and the observer arise together. In the same way, your experience of life and your awareness of that experience are not two things. They are one. When you observe sadness, you are not standing apart from it. You are participating in it with awareness. When you watch anger rise, you are not disconnected from it. You are holding it with presence. This union between observer and observed is not weakness. It is power. Because in this connection, you no longer feel like a victim of your emotions. You see that you are both the one who feels and the one who sees. And that changes everything. Instead of being pushed around by every wave, you become the ocean. Still, deep, and whole. Your thoughts, emotions, and sensations move through you, but they do not define you. You are not outside your life looking in. You are life itself. Awake to its own unfolding. The more you realize this, the more you stop chasing control. You begin to flow. And in that flow, freedom lives. Only the present is real, the past and future are illusions. The mind loves time. It clings to the past and reaches for the future. It replays regrets and imagines what could go wrong. But stop for a moment and ask yourself this. Where are those thoughts happening? Not in the past. Not in the future. They are happening now. The present is the only moment that has ever existed. Everything you have ever experienced has taken place in this exact slice of now. The past is memory. The future is imagination. Neither can be touched. Neither is happening. But the present is always here. Waiting for you to notice it. This is not a trick. It is the gateway to peace. When you become fully present, something shifts. The mind slows down. The noise fades. You begin to feel a deeper stillness. And from that stillness, clarity rises. You see that most of your suffering is not from what is, but from what you fear might happen or wish had not happened. You realize that now is enough. This breath. This heartbeat. This moment. The more you return to the present, the less you are trapped by time. You do not need to escape the past or fix the future. You just need to show up fully here. And when you do, life opens. Not as a concept, but as a direct experience. Awake. Alive. Whole. Awakening is not an escape, but a full presence in life. Many believe that awakening means leaving the world behind. That to be spiritual is to withdraw from chaos, ambition, and struggle. But true awakening is not escape. It is a deeper entry into life. It means showing up fully for every moment, not just the peaceful ones. It means being present in joy and in pain. In clarity and in confusion. Awakening is not about avoiding reality. It is about seeing it without filters. When you are awake, you stop running from discomfort. You stop chasing pleasure. You meet life exactly as it is. And in doing so, something changes. You become more grounded. More real. More available to others. You listen more deeply. You speak more honestly. You act with more compassion. This is the power of presence. Not heedy. Not denying. But being here. Fully. It does not make life perfect. It makes life true. You no longer live from reaction. You live from intention. You do not need to pretend or perform. You are simply here. Awake to the beauty and the brokenness. Awake to the flow of it all. And in that wakefulness, you discover that life has always been enough. You were never meant to escape it. You were meant to feel it. To live it. To love it as it is. Understanding yourself is the first step to understanding others. Most conflict begins not from malice but from misunderstanding. We see others act in ways we dislike. And we assume we know their motives. But how often do we truly understand even our own? When you begin to observe your inner world, you notice that your reactions are shaped by past pain, fear, and longing. The same is true for everyone else. That angry tone, that cold silence, that harsh judgment often hides something tender beneath. When you realize how easily you are hurt, how quickly you judge, how deeply you long to be seen, you start seeing others through a softer lens. Compassion is no longer a virtue you try to practice. It becomes a natural response. The more you understand your wounds, the more you recognize them in others. You no longer take everything personally. You pause before reacting. You listen not just to words, but to what is unsaid. You begin to see that everyone is fighting battles you cannot see. Everyone is carrying pain that has no name. And when you see that, your heart opens. Understanding others does not require that you agree with them. It only asks that you see their humanity. But that vision starts with yourself. Because until you can face your own pain with honesty, you will struggle to meet anyone else's with kindness. Inner strength is born from no longer running away. We are taught to be strong by hiding our pain. To stay in control by pushing things away. But true inner strength does not come from resistance. It comes from turning toward what hurts and saying I am willing to face you. It is easy to appear strong when everything is going well. But the strength that transforms your life is the one that shows up in the storm. When you stop running from fear, it begins to shrink. When you stop avoiding grief, healing begins. Strength is not the absence of emotion. It is the capacity to hold emotion without being overwhelmed. It is the ability to feel deeply and still remain grounded. This kind of strength cannot be borrowed or taught. It must be discovered. And that discovery happens in the quiet moments when you choose to stay with what is uncomfortable rather than escape it. You begin to see that you are not fragile. You are vast. You are not here to be untouched by life. You are here to live all of it. Inner strength is built like a muscle. Every time you sit with sadness instead of pushing it away, every time you breathe through fear instead of running from it, you grow stronger. Not harder. Not colder. But clearer. Wiser. More fully alive. Psychology is not for fixing the weak, but for helping people truly live. Many people still believe that psychology is only for those who are broken, unstable, or incapable. This is one of the most harmful myths. Seeking to understand your mind is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of courage. It means you are willing to meet yourself honestly. You are no longer satisfied with just surviving. You want to understand why you feel stuck, why you repeat the same patterns. Why your heart feels heavy even when life seems fine. Psychology is not about labeling or fixing. It is about seeing clearly. It invites you to look beneath the surface and ask what is really going on inside. It offers tools to grow, to heal, and to make sense of your experience. In truth, those who explore their inner world are not fragile. They are brave. They are not lost. They are searching for something real. When you begin this journey, you stop blaming others and start taking responsibility. You stop pretending and start becoming. This path is not always easy, but it is real. And in a world full of noise, confusion, and pressure to perform, choosing to look within is a radical act of self-respect. You are not weak for feeling deeply. You are alive. And that is where true strength begins. Awakening is not a destination, it is the way you walk each day. You do not have to become someone else. You do not need to fix yourself to be worthy. Every insight you've met along this journey INTs back to one truth: you were never broken. Beneath the noise of thoughts, beneath the pull of emotions, beneath the stories the world tells you about who you should be, there is something unshaken. Something already whole. Awakening is not a one-time event. It is a quiet, ongoing return to yourself. It is how you choose to breathe when the world is heavy. How you choose to listen when others do not. How you choose to stay soft even when life gets hard. The mind may wander. The ego may resist. The pain may return. But with awareness, you return too. Not to the ideal version of yourself, but to the honest, present, living you. And in that return, everything shifts. You no longer seek life outside yourself. You become life itself, aware, compassionate, and fully awake.